everybody, Scott Fuller here, founder of leavingthebayarea.com. Welcome to another edition of the Market Insider Series, where every episode we take you across the country to look at some more of the popular areas that we see Bay Area and California residents are moving to. And I'm totally excited. We are going to the Southwest today, Tucson, Arizona, with my friend Jeff Wilhems, eXp Realty. Jeff, how are you today?
You know, Scott, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking us to be here with you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I know that your wife Marcy's off and she's busy, running business for you guys. I know you've got a pretty big team there. Appreciate you taking time out of your day today. So for those of you who have not seen any of these episodes before, we are going to cover as much information about Tucson as we can in 45 minutes. So we're going to pile through a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about housing prices. We're going to talk about industry. We're going to talk about employment, weather, recreation, you name it, we're going to cover it. Hopefully you get some great information out of this. Jeff, give me some background. So you've been in Tucson for a while. How long have you lived in Tucson yourself?
Yeah, so my wife, Marcy Wilhems, and I came here in about 2002. We moved from the Midwest. Our family was out here, so we wanted to have our daughter get a little closer to Grandma and Grandpa. So we came out here and got into the real estate business in 2004. Marcy got her license. I was a lender, and kind of a long story short, since 2004, we started working with another company, Remax, for many, many years. And we were there for until about 27 months ago or so when we switched our business to eXp. But we started just my wife and I, and we built our business up to the first employee was our sister to be my assistant. And then we hired a buyer agent to be on our team. And now we have a team of 27 agents and 6 support staff, and we're about just under 6,000 homes sold later, and about $1.5 billion worth of real estate. So
there you go.
Seen a lot of stuff in Tucson.
It's safe to say that you know Tucson pretty well, and you know a little bit about the real estate market, having done so much business, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. But enough about us. What can we help everybody know about Tucson?
Fantastic. Okay, so one of the biggest questions that we get from people is, what can you get in Tucson for what price? And so I'd love you to kind of screen share with us and take us through some property examples in some different areas where you guys are seeing a lot of growth, where you're seeing people move into, whether it's people who are moving there for work or maybe retirement. So walk us through some of that if you would.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Let me see if I'm not real technical here, but let me see if I can get this screen share here. Would it be okay to start with a map like this?
Let's do that. Perfect.
Can you see the map okay?
Yep, I can see the map.
Right,
I can see your cursor.
This is basically just a Google map. And so, Scott, when you're looking at Tucson's kind of right in the middle of this map. And when people fly into Tucson, they if they're flying in, the airport's a little south down here. And then, they start essentially looking around the area for places to live. Now, most of the residential population is not going to be down here on the south side of Tucson. It's going to be more up in central Tucson and up into the foothills of the Catalina foothills, up to Casas Adobe and Oro Valley, and then even the people that come in that are looking for more of a retirement community, 55 plus community. There's a real popular one up here in Saddlebrook. Or even, and so it's really far north. When I say really far north, it's still only about 35 minutes outside of downtown.
Okay. So close, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still, I guess when you're coming from the Bay Area, 35 minutes to me feels like a long time. It's right down the street in the Bay Area in some places, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, 10 miles away is going to take you sometimes 45 minutes to an hour. So
yeah, not quite that. We don't have the traffic problems like that. But then as I go further south, we've got another retirement community down here, 55 plus, called Green Valley. Vale is another kind of growing area southeast. And I don't know if this map is moving, but a lot of the growth right now in Tucson is up in this bedroom community here called Oro Valley, and it's expanding over as I move my cursor over towards Marana to I-10. All this area out here against the base of the Tortolitas. So Tucson's surrounded by mountain ranges. It's the Tortolita Mountains up here, the Tucson mountains here, the Catalina mountains here, and then down on the south side, or you know, like 40 miles south of Tucson, you've got the Santa Rita mountain range down here. So no matter where you live in Tucson, you're going to get beautiful mountains, and it's just a wonderful place.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that Oro Valley is becoming more of a popular place, a lot of development going on there. Give us kind of an idea, if you can, maybe show a couple property examples of what it costs in that area.
Yeah, happy to. You know, Oro Valley is a very, very popular area. Super low crime rate. School systems are wonderful. They're very, very well put together up in Oro Valley. But in terms of a price of a home, I think that we've got one here that I can see. I don't know, can you see any of these photos?
I'm seeing everything just fine on this end.
Okay, great, because I just don't know about the connection. Whoop, here's a little floor plan of a typical home in Oro Valley in the $400,000 to $600,000 range. So this home is $549,000. It's essentially let me see how many. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath home, 2,700 square feet. So it's just under a couple $100 a square foot. But as you kind of scroll through this, you can see it's a pretty nice home, new kitchen, new appliances, hardwood floors, nice bar there, or kitchen bar. You can see out the windows. They've got beautiful views of Push Ridge mountains. You're just everywhere you go in Oro Valley, you're going to look out of a window and you're going to see an amazing mountain view. And it's going to make you feel like you're right at the base of the mountains. And I think, and that mountain range is called Push Ridge. And so I'm just kind of flipping through the house here, but you kind of get the idea. I think that, or I hope you get the idea of just what you could get for, I guess $500,000 in Oro Valley.
So this looks like this is about a 1/4 acre. Is that pretty consistent for most of the homes in the area? Even
it really is. I mean, we have some areas up in a little bit north of Oro Valley and a little bit west of Oro Valley that are on private golf courses, and you can go up to $2 million, $3 million for some of those houses that are going to be on much bigger lots. If you want to spend more money, you can always buy more home, right? So
well, and that's actually, I think, for a lot of people. And is it safe to say that a 1/4 acre is pretty low maintenance there, because you're not going to have a lot of upkeep?
Yeah, no, you're not going to have a lot of upkeep on a home like this. This is in a little community up on the northwest side of Oro Valley, and you're just not going to have a whole lot of upkeep here.
Yeah, so the outside is easy to maintain, probably, not require a whole lot of water, things like that.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, you're not dealing with a whole lot of maintenance issues. As you can see, the front elevation of the property, it's we don't have a lot of grass out here. If you don't live on the golf course,
right? Save some money on the water and do the desert scape.
Absolutely. You're having, you got a lot of rock, desert scape, coming from the Midwest, it was kind of an adjustment for me at first, but so we kind of got the best of both worlds in Oro Valley. We personally live on the Oro Valley Country Club. So we got a golf course out our backyard, mountain views, and then we have no grass in our actual yard. It's all rocks, Scott. So it's rocks and cactus formations and beautiful things that we don't really have to take do a lot of upkeep. Our maintenance company comes by and does that. But living on the golf course, we can still see the greenery too, which is nice.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Jeff, this is something that California is starting to look a little bit more like. In fact, when you see people that are redesigning and re-landscaping their houses, they're doing it for like a dryscape or something like that. Yep. And this is becoming more common with water restrictions, with the cost of water, utilities. I mean, we're going this direction here in California on a lot of new houses. So I'm thinking that this isn't as much of a surprise as maybe it was, 10, 20 years ago to move into something, that you're going to see this type of landscaping.
No, I agree 100%. If you're coming, if you've done much shopping at all online, or you've looked and you've kind of seen what places or what things are moving towards, or how people are people want less maintenance. People don't want a lot of that. So you're going to see more desert scape. You're going to see those things in a lot of areas. But we have to do it based upon the fact that it's very warm here in the summertime, but for about 9 months a year, it's living in paradise. For 3 months a year, I'm not going to lie to you, everybody says it's a dry heat here. it's a very hot, dry heat here for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and we'll go a little bit more into the weather, but can you pull up maybe another property example for Oro
Absolutely.
Valley?
Let me show you another area. We were talking earlier
Okay.
about the Catalina foothills being kind of, if I go back and reference this map again, this area that I'm showing you is right here. Did the map pop back up for you?
Yep, I'm seeing
Okay,
it.
so this is the area that we're looking at. So basically you're living up in the mountains, just in the foothills of these mountains, and you're looking down the city lights to the city lights at night, because Tucson City is about 1,000 to 1,500 feet lower in elevation than up here in the foothills.
Got it. Okay.
So then you get this amazing view. And then so when you go up here and you want to look at this is a place called Pima Canyon. You can see it's a beautiful home. And when we're talking about the actual home price and what you get, it's a little over $1 million, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, almost 4,000 square foot. Now this is on an acre of lots, an acre of land, and it's very common to find half acre to acre lots all over the Catalina foothills. And of course, you're looking at about $300 a square foot, so about $100 a square foot more than you were over in Oro Valley. And I think one of the appeals to people here is not only the views and what you see at night and the type of homes that you're living in, but you're about 20 minutes closer to the city in Tucson if you've got to work around the university, a lot of professors, doctors in the medical centers. The Catalina foothills are famous for their outstanding schools. And again, we could talk about that later, but just a wonderful place to live. And if I scroll through some of the pictures, you can see that it's just a beautiful home.
That's awesome. Wow.
This is kind of an aerial shot with a drone showing you what the top of the house would look like. This is pulling up to the driveway and seeing the 3.5 car garage. This is kind of the entryway walking up to the home. You can just see it. It's just an absolute gorgeous home. So if you want to spend a little more money, you want a little more land, you want the city lights twinkling at night out of your backyard when you're sitting out on that back patio. And in fact, this is a picture that was.
I love that window. That's amazing.
Can you see that out there? And just imagine when it's completely dark and how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a great piece, and we love to have houses or homes like this. I really can't even. Doesn't do it justice to call it a house. It's not a house. It's just a really nice home. So,
an estate.
I know you're also.
How far would this be from downtown area?
So this is about 15 minutes from downtown Tucson.
Okay, so close. Yeah.
Yeah, not far at all. Now, I guess during rush hour it could be 20, but you're not taking a freeway down. I'll take you back over to the map and I'll show you. You're going basically surface streets. There's no freeway system over here. So most people that live up in the Cat foothills are kind of making their way on these major roads like Campbell. This road's called Campbell, and it runs down to right down to the university. It's just from here. It's a straight shot right up Campbell. And then this home that we're talking about is literally right over in here. So it's down Skyline to Campbell, and you're downtown in minutes. Or you could shoot over Skyline to First Avenue and take First straight down. But the road moves fairly quickly. You don't have a lot of problems with traffic here in Tucson. Now, if I blow this map up, if you're traveling east and west from the far east over this way, this is where you start running into more traffic issues because there is no freeway. The people that have lived here for many, many years, they did not really want to put this crosstown freeway this way because they were against the growth and against the progression, and unfortunately it's happened anyway. So if they would have planned a freeway, it would have been a lot nicer, but they did not. So hence the foothills are where a lot of people go, and this area kind of central to, I mean, they're all nice places to live, but the further you get out east, just plan for it's going to take you a little longer to get downtown if you need to get downtown. The good thing is everywhere in Tucson has shopping and little strip centers and grocery stores and movie theaters. I mean, it's not like you have to go to downtown Tucson. I can count on one hand in the last 6 months that I've actually been downtown Tucson. So that's, we're always up here in Oro Valley. If I, excuse me, I've kind of got this saying, if I've got to go south, it costs us Adobe. That's like my limit. You know, I don't even like to go down here unless I got to go to the airport. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it. I just like staying close to my home and my neighborhood up here, if you will.
Well, and if you've got all the amenities nearby, there's no reason to go down there, right? So that's
Exactly.
always,
But you know, if somebody wants to venture downtown, that's great culture, lots of restaurants, a lot of beauty. You know, there's a lot of corporate stuff going on downtown. A lot of the law firms and insurance companies, and I mean, in Tucson downtown is also very, very pretty. So they've done a great job taking care of the city.
Jeff, let's talk a little bit about retirement communities. Now, I know that Tucson, I imagine, is a pretty popular area for retirees. Is that safe to say?
Well, it actually is, and that's in fact how we ended up out here. Was our parents moved from the Midwest to closer to their parents who had retired in the community I was talking about down south. In Green Valley, but then Green Valley is nice and it's actually a wonderful community, but we find that there's a lot more retirees that are up here north of Oro Valley in Sun City, and then also up in Saddlebrook. And so I did pull up a home here in Saddlebrook that I could have you kind of take a peek at, if that's all right.
Yeah. So now Saddlebrook, is this a 55 plus master plan community?
It is. Now there are some areas of Saddlebrook that you do not have to be 55, but very few areas. Most of it was designed with the retiree in mind, 55 plus, master plan communities, golf courses, tennis courts. A big thing now is what's the little thing they're always using the paddles with? I'm losing my mind. We just had them put in here at Oro Valley because a lot of people wanted to play it. Obviously, I'm not a player. I would but it's
tennis, racquetball. I don't know
well, you know what's crazy that I can't think of it. It's not bocce ball, but it's one of those things where you don't have to really move too far, but it's like it's almost like table tennis and dang.
I'll probably think of it. I'll probably think of it also.
Yeah, if it comes
here's the thing. I love these communities, Jeff, because you can come in and have all of the amenities and all the benefits and the activities, make some great friendships, especially if you're moving in, from 55 plus, moving into an area where maybe you don't know anybody. And they offer so many amenities. So tell us a little bit about what Saddlebrook offers, and talk to us also about this particular property.
Well, I guess we could show you the property first. As you can see, it's got the desert scape like the other home that we looked at before. That's a very common theme out here. So you don't have a lot of grass that you're worried about keeping green or watering it, and the rock yards, if you will, are a lot easier. The desert scape, better way of saying it, I guess, easier maintenance. This is a pretty typical home up in Saddlebrook. It's a couple $100 a square foot. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Little under 2,000 square feet, again, around a quarter of an acre. But as you can see, this quarter of an acre, once you get, there's not a lot of maintenance there. There's not. I mean,
that's great. You got the space and no maintenance.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I was just saying it's great because you've got all that space, but very little maintenance with it.
That is correct.
Nice to have that buffer with the neighbors and, have your own.
And you're not right on top of your neighbors, but a lot of those houses are pretty, they're pretty close together, but you're not sitting right on top of each other. But as you can see, this is just a little area for somebody, they're walking up and you can see people, it's just a nice little area to sit outside. This is the entryway to the home. It's pretty, I guess, good sized living room and opened up to their back porch with their little chimenea out there where you can sit out there at night and you do need that, by the way, here in the winter months when most snowbirds come down here. And we live right in a neighborhood at Oro Valley Country Club where about 65% of our residents aren't here in June, July, and August, or September even. They come down in October, and they usually leave around Memorial Day to go back wherever they're from. We have a lot of people that are here from the West Coast, from California, all the way up to the Seattle area, over to North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan. We find that we have a few people that live out here that are East Coast folks in, up around New York and stuff. But for the most part, it seems to be that Tucson and Saddlebrook attracts the Midwest from about Michigan over to Canada, over to Washington, up around Seattle,
Yeah.
and even some folks up in Canada.
Okay.
But and then I think that most of your East Coast folks, they kind of like Florida. You know, Florida seems to be where they go. But at any rate, it's just a great spot. Wonderful little home. And honestly, when you're retired and you don't have anybody living with you and you're an empty nesters, it's more the home than you really even. Yeah, you know, it's plenty of home. You know, you don't need much more than that when it's only two of you. So a couple bedrooms, you know, you've got a couple of extra guest bedrooms for when you got the grandkids in town or your kids in town or whatever. And there's plenty of stuff for them to do because you can bring them to your swimming pool. You can bring them to the golf club. You can go eat at the country club. There's so many cool things to be able to do. And I'm just flipping through some pictures here of the property. But yeah, it's a pretty neat spot. And again, for those that are here looking, this is a master plan community up here called Saddlebrook, just north of Catalina. And you're looking at the backside this way of the Catalina foothills. Over here is the Catalina foothills rather. And this is the backside of the Catalina Mountains. And this is all called Push Ridge going down along this side. And Mount Lemmon back here, which you will see, Mount Lemmon is actually, it's almost 10,000 feet in elevation. So we actually have, in the wintertime, you'll be down here at 70 degrees playing golf on the beautiful green grass, and you'll be looking at snow in the mountains in the wintertime.
Awesome. Love it.
Pretty cool.
So talk to us a little bit, Jeff, about, we're talking about people 55 plus, and the question that I get a lot when people are considering moving to a new area is healthcare, proximity to healthcare services, quality of healthcare services, because obviously as people are getting older, that's a bigger concern. Give us a little bit of background on kind of, the healthcare model and proximity to services in Tucson.
Great question. And so for those that are going to be interested in for instance, I'll just start up north where we were, way up north in Saddlebrook, and then up here in the Sun City area. Because there's so many retirees that have second homes out in this area, they just built not long ago a brand new, super big Oro Valley hospital up here. And that's really nice. And then of course, if people want to, there's another hospital that's located about where my cursor is, about right here, called Northwest Hospital. And that's another major medical facility, lots of doctors' offices and anything that you need there. For people that are all over the area, they've got Tucson Medical Center that's down by the university. I'll just blow this map up. Maybe this will be a little bit easier to show you. Down around the university, they've got University Medical Center down here. There's also St. Mary's over on the west side of Tucson, about this right around in here actually, where my cursor is. And then the folks that are down that retire in Green Valley or live south, they have to come up 19. Now there's medical care down here, don't get me wrong, but to get to like a major hospital, they're usually going to St. Mary's or University Medical Center or something like that if it's something serious. But they do have a lot of these like Pima Heart Hospital and Tucson Heart Hospital. They've put locations down here, which kind of like just going to the hospital. If you got a heart problem, you want to go to any one of these Pima Hearts or Tucson Heart, you're not 35 minutes to the hospital. You're 10 minutes or 5 minutes away. If you guys, if that's making sense. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, that's great. They've got, sounds like some clinics and maybe some satellite, facilities, right? For a lot of these
nothing to
major
worry about
hospitals.
living in Tucson. There's so many, any of the entire area. I mean, because we cater so much to the retirement community, they've certainly got that under control.
Perfect. Jeff, let's get into, we've kind of talked about, retirees a little bit, what they're looking for, what's important to them, some of the communities, the healthcare. Let's talk about, a working individual or family who's maybe looking to move into Tucson, whether they're coming in with their company through a transfer, or perhaps they're looking for a different job opportunity with a lower cost of living outside of California. Talk to us, and since we've got the map up, talk to us about some of the industry and employment growth and where you're seeing that, what's coming into the area.
That's a great question, and a great thing to segue into. Obviously, Tucson is growing. We're growing very rapidly. We've got about a little over a million people in the metro area. And what's driving that growth here is obviously the weather. You've got great weather here for, like I said, 8.5 to 9 months out of the year. But our major employers that we have here is around this part of the town where you see that there's no streets or roads. This is Davis Monthan Air Force Base. And so the Air Force Base here is a very thriving Air Force Base. The A-10s are here. They've got the C-130 electrical combat unit here. They've got, we also have I guess people call it the boneyard, but there are literally thousands of airplanes that are out here close to the Pima Air and Space Museum. And I'll try to blow this up a little bit. This is all the base, and there are literally thousands of planes that have been mothballed. But when I say mothballed, many of them can be, after they service them, they mothball them, they could be brought back into action at any time. The reason it's stored in Arizona is because it's so dry out here, and it's just the perfect place. Things do not rust here, and so that's why Davis Monthan is probably always going to be a big employer. And it's not just being in the Air Force; it's all the civil. The civilian jobs that support the base.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In addition to that, we have several other major employers that are down around the airport. We've got Raytheon Missile Systems that is obviously just about everybody I'm sure has heard of Raytheon. We have a lot of high-paying engineering jobs that are there. Rocket scientists, if you will, because they're literally building rockets.
Literally, yeah.
Literally building rockets and guidance systems for bombs and missiles. And as long as the defense spending is there, Raytheon's in great shape. And then, of course, Raytheon has a lot of other spinoff companies that are working, and so there's a lot of other jobs there. Amazon just opened up a big center here. I think they just hired another 3,000 or 4,000 people in Tucson, and we all know what Amazon's doing. Now we've got, in addition to that, Geico has a monster headquarters here, the insurance company that, they spend about $1.5 billion worth of advertising, and they've got a huge customer service center here. They employ several thousand people. We've got the University of Arizona. Can't forget those guys. I mean, U of A is one of the biggest schools in the Pac-12 in terms of enrollment. And what's not to like about U of A basketball, right? Go Cats!
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's lots of growth and jobs here, and I think that people are wherever they're working, because the commute is not a long commute. If you can live up here in Oro Valley and be down in Raytheon in 35 minutes. So
would you say, Jeff, that that's probably the max commute you're typically going to see anywhere in the area, 35?
35, maybe 40 minutes, and that's going from one complete side of town clear to the other, because now occasionally you might have a freak accident that's going to block traffic, but at the end of the day, most people, the commutes are 30 minutes, 20 minutes or less actually is the biggest. That's the most commute. I'd say it's truly an oddity for somebody to have 30 minutes or more here.
Well, I can tell you, Jeff, from experience being here, we're going about 10 miles, and it's going to take 35 to 40 minutes to go 10 miles. And and sometimes it's worse than that. So
I've been out
35
there.
Minutes is
I know what you
mean. For most people.
Beautiful country, love a beautiful city, lots of beautiful ocean and bay views, and I love California. But
beautiful, no doubt.
It's amazing, but there is a lot of traffic. That's for sure.
A lot of traffic. Let's talk a little bit about what Californians probably don't like to talk about much, which is taxes. But I like to do a little bit of a tax comparison, and I always preface this by saying we're going to give you some general numbers, but always talk to your CPA or financial planner about how it impacts your bottom line before you decide where you want to move to. Okay, now that my disclaimer's out of the way, what's your state income tax rate there?
Well, I'm not a tax expert either, but I think that we have an 8% tax rate. Is that what we've got there?
So I think what you said, 8% might be, well, I think the data I'm looking at is maybe 2.5 up to a scale up to maybe 4.5%. Does that sound right for state income tax?
Actually, our state income tax, I believe, is an 8% state income tax.
Is it?
And
Okay.
that form that you're looking at was filled out by one of my staffers. And so from a guy that pays a bunch of money, unfortunately, in taxes, I can tell you, I
You
think
know
the
what it is. Okay.
state
You're
income
probably,
tax is 8% here.
and you're probably on the, I would imagine you're probably on the upper tier. Our tier in California ranges from about 7.25% up to about 13.3%. So
Yeah.
obviously there's
The difference is we only pay
taxes.
$2 a gallon or $2.50 a gallon for gas, and y'all are paying about $5 because of all the taxes on that, right?
Well, right now we're in the last couple of months, gas has gone down.
Okay, good.
Most of it, yeah, you can certainly attribute it to taxes. We're at about 4 to 4.25, depending on where you're filling up at. However, my understanding is that in 2020, there's another tax assessment, and we might be closer to a permanent $4.50 to $5. Don't remind me.
I know. I'm sorry about that. I was visiting in the Midwest where I used to live 2 weeks ago, and up in the Indianapolis area. Gas prices were $2.49 a gallon, and when I got home, got to the airport, looked at our we have an SUV, and I stopped in to fill it up, and it was $2.51 a gallon. So we were 2 cents away from the Midwest, but unfortunately, out there where y'all live, it's a little more expensive. But hey, the cost of living here is a lot less. So it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
we also don't have an ocean in our backyard either. So it's kind of a trade-off.
No, it is. What's your? Do you know what your sales tax is?
You know what, the sales tax is I think that's what I was actually talking about. You know what you just mentioned, sales tax. I'm wrong. The sales tax is the 8%. The state tax is the 4%.
Okay.
So they are right. I was wrong.
Right.
I thought you were asking that, but sales tax is 8% in Arizona.
Got it. So you're about up to 5% on state income tax rate. Obviously, it's a sliding scale.
Correct.
Sales tax is going to be closer
Like I
to
said,
8%.
I'm not an accountant. That's what I had those guys. But I do remember, yeah, it's sales tax. It's 8%, and then the income tax is around just under 5%.
Got it. And what's your property tax rate?
That depends on where you live.
Probably varies. Yeah.
What do we put on our form? Did we put those on our form?
I think you have about 0.8% up to about 1.5%.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to tell you 1.25% because that's pretty much the average for the entire region. If you live up here in Valley, it's going to be more than when you live if you live on the south side of Tucson. It's a little bit less in certain areas. The foothills, Cat Foothills and Oro Valley they're taxed at a little higher rate, but it's not that much.
So here's what you mentioned. You mentioned something about us being near the ocean, which correct we are. But how far are you from? Is it Rocky Point from Mexico?
Yeah, watch. I'll show you. Not too far.
How long does it take to get down there? If I wanted to go to the beach.
Can you see this map?
Yeah.
Look how cool this is. So you go out Tucson, and you literally just head out Highway 86 over to a little town called Y, Arizona, and then there's
why not?
Well, we say to ourselves, why would you ever live there? Because it's in the middle of nowhere. But so it's 2 hours over here to Y, and it's 2 hours down here to Puerto Penasco to be on the beach. And so it's 4 hours to be on the beach in Mexico, and it's essentially the Gulf of California. If I blow it out a little bit farther, everybody can kind of see that if you're down here is, you're going all the way down around. This is Cabo down here, and where we just pointed is right here. So we're not as far from the ocean as what people think. We literally are 4 hours to Puerto Penasco, and I hear people say they make it in 3.5, but I think they're kind of risking a ticket doing that. It takes me about 4 hours to get down there.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got some good proximity, maybe a long, weekend trip on, something like that. And then what is the average time to get to Phoenix if somebody?
Phoenix is about an hour and a half. It's 100 miles, but then of course there's not a whole lot out here in the middle between Tucson and Phoenix. There's one little town out here called Casa Grande. You go, once you get past Marana, Eloy is pretty much just a bird, but then there's Casa Grande. I'll blow it up just a little bit farther and you can see Casa Grande. Maybe a little traffic right through here, but not a lot of, when I say traffic, I'm talking about you might see some cars, but from Tucson all the way up to the south side of Phoenix, you can get there. Put it this way, if I show you a map right here, the Phoenix airport is right around where this Phoenix sign is.
Yeah.
And we can be from our house in Oro Valley to that airport in an hour and 25 minutes. So not far.
That's quick.
Yeah. So you've got an opportunity if you live up Northwest, and many people do. We have a great airport on the south side of Tucson, and it, flies a lot of cities direct. Out west, out east, I can think of like Chicago has a direct flight. New York has direct flights out of Tucson. But most things going east, you're going to connect through Dallas or Denver or Chicago or another city or Atlanta. But if you want direct flights and you don't like connections, then you go ahead and you drive the hour and a half up to the Phoenix airport and just leave from Sky Harbor.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. So let's talk about, speaking of Phoenix, hotter than the sun for 3 months out of the year, right? So tell us a little bit about Tucson and the weather. Is it as, I'll say, severe?
Well, in the wintertime, we're about 5 degrees cooler than Phoenix. So if you want it warmer in the wintertime, Phoenix is going to stay warmer. And in the summertime, I think Phoenix is typically 8 to 10 degrees warmer, because it doesn't cool down at night because of all the concrete that's up there and all the population and everything. There's just not, and it's sitting in a valley. Much like Tucson's in a valley, but Tucson's elevation is higher than Phoenix, so it cools down here. But you know what? They're very, very comparable in the winter. But I still think Phoenix is, and I'm no meteorologist, but just talking to people up there, it's like if they're 82 degrees in December, we're going to be 78 degrees here. It's still not too bad. When they're 115 degrees in Phoenix, we're going to be about 108. There is a difference from 115 and 108, but I can still tell you, if you're not used to 108, 108's not very fun. So that's why most people decide that the summer is the time to travel in Arizona.
So we're towards the end of summer. In fact, today's the September 10th is when our recording date here. What would you say that the temperature is going to be outside today?
Today, right now? Well, I can tell you right now exactly the temperature will be 89 today, because I just looked. And so 89 today and relatively low humidity. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're coming up onto the season. The month of October is about when most golf courses shut down here. For 3 weeks to do what is called overseed. They spray all of the Bermuda grass to make it go dormant. They stop watering it and it turns yellow really fast without any water here. But because it cools down at night, they plant all new grass seed. The winter rye is what it's called. And then that's because it's the best weather of the year in terms of temperature wise and they still get a little bit of rain here and there, but we get it just cools down at night, and that grass, the sun comes out in the daytime, but it doesn't superheat it. It's just, I always said October is the greatest month of the year to live here, but try finding a golf course to play on, because most of them aren't available, although it's still great in November, but in December they have to get it ready so it's perfect for the next 6 months for all of our snowbirds.
Well, I was going to say, that's when everybody starts coming in, and that's when they make the majority of their money, right?
Now, there's a lot of money that's made here in the winter months. Our population, you can feel it about the middle of October. The traffic does start to kind of, like, where it took you 5 minutes to get somewhere, now it takes you 10. You're going crazy over 10 minutes. But
I know, right? Yeah. That's how it always works.
We're just spoiled. We're spoiled.
So you mentioned, Jeff, that Mount Lemon, Pete gets some snow.
Yeah.
Are we talking about accumulation snow? Are we talking about skiing? Or are we talking about just some nice snow?
They certainly have a ski lodge up there, and they do have skiing, but it's not, I wouldn't say that skiing in Mount Lemon is something that's done a lot. I mean, when we get a lot of snow, they're open up there in Mount Lemon, and they definitely get their snow up there. And there's one way in, if you can see this road, and kind of one way out. So if you're in a big hurry, you don't want to get in a big hurry to go up to Mount Lemon. But it's this road that drives up there. There's so many little places that you can pull over and look down on the city and Tucson and the valley and see what's going on. It's just really kind of amazing.
Get some great views, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness. And when you're talking about wanting to get out of, in the summer, for instance, if it's 110 degrees, if we get one of those hot days, all you've got to do is drive 45 minutes or less, and you're going to be at 75 to 80 degrees. So you really don't have to stay here and bake if you don't want to. Most people, what they do is they work here during the week in air condition, and then they drive up to Globe or up into what we call the White Mountains, which are up here in Sholo. All this green stuff up here is nothing but forest and higher elevation, and that's why they draw a lot of people from Phoenix go up here. This Pine Top area and Sholo is super, super popular, and it'll be up here in the low to high 70s, low 80s all summer long when it's 100 over here in Phoenix or 110.
Yeah.
So that's where people go, or they head out to one of the lakes and they hit the lakes, or they go up here to Prescott. And then if I blow the map up, Arizona is like living in 8 different states with all of the ecocultures. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
sure, I'll buy that. Yeah.
I would too, because I don't really know. I just know that we've got desert, we got mountains, we've got forest, we've got plains. I mean, if you want to be up around the red rocks what is it up here where everybody goes? Sedona. You've heard of the red rocks and the vortex.
Yeah.
Those beautiful rocks. Or if you want to go up to a little bit further up into the Grand Canyon, we got the Grand Canyon. I mean, there's so many cool places to be in Arizona, and that's why we call it our home. And we're not going to. You can give me homes everywhere else. I wouldn't live anywhere but here.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, Jeff, you've done a great job. I mean, kind of covering a little bit of everything as much as we can within 45 to 50 minutes or so. Is there anything that you wanted to mention that maybe we did not cover?
No, just that my wife Marcy Wilhems couldn't be here, and she was wanted to apologize, and she just said that to tell everybody that she says hello, and if you ever need a real estate professional to show you around that knows the area and knows what we're doing, give us a call. And
you read my mind, because if we have people who are considering, Tucson is one of the areas that they might want to go to, and they're kind of getting serious, they want to get their feet on the ground, can they come out and visit with you and your team for maybe a half a day or a day to take a look around and just to get to know the area?
Oh, or longer. And that's what we do. We consider ourselves kind of tour guides. So just and we'll show them around and a lot more than what we're able to talk about. That's what we do. Yeah. And we'd love to help anybody that is watching this video do that very thing. We've been doing it for 14 years, and we have a little experience in this department for sure.
Well, that's great. And like I said, Jeff, I think that what we've done is provided a pretty good overview of everything. But somebody really wants to get a little bit more granular and said, let's what's important to us. Okay, then you can really start working with somebody directly and saying, okay, here's the things that are important to you. Here's where we need to kind of focus. Let's take a day, start looking around and find what's going to be the right fit.
And just so you know, our entire real estate team, that's absolutely correct, Scott, but our entire real estate team, we have hired people that are on our team that are living all over the Tucson area, and they're experts in their particular areas.
Awesome.
And so we've made sure that as we've built this team, we don't want to have somebody looking in Vale if they're not working with an agent on our team that lives down there that can actually talk to them about Vale. Or if they want to be in the Catalina foothills, they're going to reach, well, we have several agents that live in the foothills, and they're going to certainly get experts in every area.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, well, Jeff, thanks so much. I appreciate your time. Say hi to Marcy for us.
And we'll definitely do it. And thank you for having us. And you're doing a good thing here. And I love what you're doing. If you ever need anything from us, you just give us a holler.
Appreciate that, Jeff. All right. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, pal. Have a good one.
All right. Take care. Thanks, everybody.